these are very thin layer of gold, just gilding. These are copper sheets, copper plates. Yeah, because there are a lot of churches because they are not so large as in Europe, for example. Because again, our climate with cold winters, and it was much easier to warm up smaller interiors. Well, but keep in mind that this cathedral, it was very large for medieval Muscovites.
Very big.
It is not comparable with European cathedrals, but for Muscovites it was really very large. Because normal churches, they were of this size. Do you see that small church just next to the main cathedral? It is from the same period, from the end of the 15th century, and it is very small. And it is also open, you can enter with your tickets. Well, but just in front of you now, these are still parts of the royal palace. Because I have already said that this faceted hall was only for men. But women, Russian queens, we say tsarinas, they had their own reception hall, and this white facade with 3 small windows. It is Tsarina's reception hall. It is from the early 16th century. It is smaller, much smaller than that for men. But women never participated in politics, and only after the reforms of Peter the Great, women came to power, and we have had several empresses in the 18th century. Well, but up to Tsarina's hall, we have churches. Do you see these cupolas, 11 cupolas? And it means that there are domestic churches, domestic chapels, very small. There are 4 of them. They are located on different floors, and they are united under the single roof. Because every member of the large royal family, he started his day with a religious service. And all these churches, they were reconstructed many times, and finally in 1681, they were united under the single roof with this beautiful 11 drums and cupolas. It is very specific Russian design of the end of the last quarter of the 17th century. Well, and now please have a look at this bell tower and belfries. The bell tower is to the left, and it is really very high and beautiful, and it was so beloved by all the Muscovites that it has its proper name. The name of the bell tower is Ivan the Great. The bell tower of Ivan the Great. Ivan, because a small church devoted of St. Ivan, St. John actually, the Climagus is situated on the ground floor. The Great because it is very high. Its height is 81 meters. Well, initially it was again a little bit lower. When it was built by Italians in the early 16th century, it was 62 meters. But in 1600, by the order of Russian Tsar Boris Godunov, it was brought up to the height of 81 meters, and it became the highest building in the whole Russia. And it got its name, Ivan the Great. But to the left of this bell tower were belfries, additional buildings for bells. And initially they were constructed in the 16th and 17th centuries. These are several buildings close to each other, but what you see now, it is the reconstruction. Because in 1812, I've already said about Napoleon's plans of destroying the Kremlin. There was the explosion here, and only the bell tower stood, and these belfries ruined. And they reconstructed these belfries. And actually have a look at the central arch of this belfry. We have a very huge bell. It is the largest ringing bell. It weighs 64 tons, 64,000 kilos. It is still ringing well, and it was cast, it was designed in 1818 to celebrate the victory over Napoleon, and so it was put on this reconstructed belfry. Well, and as a total we have 22 or 23 bells, more than 20 bells, and today we have heard their sound. Well, now we are going, there is a small line, but we are going inside the second insignificant cathedral.
Were the buildings fixed or were they actually rebuilt?
They used all the technical documentation.
They were refurbished then, or they refurbished as a
Constructed absolutely the same that was